Right, this is going to be another, probably the last, I can't be sure, but probably the last episode of this year of Hot Take Point Made. At least that I can guarantee. And, look, there's two ways we could do this. I could just start, like, actually as a showman, I am more of like the wrestling entertainer. I should just ignore all the takes we get wrong, unless they're funny. Like if kassad gets wrong. Obviously don't bring up any I get wrong. That'd be really rude and inappropriate. I'm the host of the show, you know. Be polite, you're a guest. But obviously, we should just stick with all the ones we get right. Like Thorin did say all the way back after that Cologne last place, like Spirit could win the major. kassad did say that FaZe would either not make it through the RMR or win the major. Look, he was technically wrong on that one, but only by like 2 rounds. It's pretty good still. But I did also realise when I was going back, boys, to search for like gold mine clips that we could put on Twitter, I did realise, because we do so many episodes of this show, and obviously narratives in CSR just whiplash, like teams just can win, can't win, there's no chance, no win, they're going to come last place, they're going to make a fight. It does mean by the end, we have sort of just like taken a shotgun approach, like we're going to hit something eventually. So let's see, because here's the funny thing. I actually think this episode, people will think there's no more CS to be played. No, you fools. That means now we can take stuff from the major. And by the way, the major is probably the generator of the best hot takes. Because think about it, as soon as someone wins a world championship or doesn't, you can do all the ones of like, they'll never win a major. Like, this team will win the 5 major. You can do all of them crazy. So obviously, we're going to start out this week, right? What do you guys feel? kassad, low key, did you even remember that hot take? Was part you thinking if FaZe wins the major, I will get to be like the ultimate hot take? I would have been a pretty crazy hot take. Because the hot take, remember, we didn't even make fun of you, because your hot take was like, they either don't even qualify or they go first. And then obviously we were all like, look, kassad, it's more reasonable they'll be in the middle, mate. You're like, be reasonable. And then you just did your take. So
listen,
we were like top 8 surely.
Yeah, exactly.
I just said they're gonna be in the finals, or they're not gonna make it. They were in the finals.
Oh, okay.
So I'm 100% correct.
You're right then. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But
you know what? As they say in England, kassad, even a blind squirrel finds a nut eventually.
Even the broken clock shows the time,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
But
yes.
I was gonna listen, Maui. I was gonna give like props to Duncan for saying back in fucking whatever February that Spirit is probably the main contender to win the Shanghai Major, and I was gonna give him props for that, and you know, clap and whatever the fuck. But he just like said even the fucking broken clock or whatever the fuck.
All right.
So it doesn't really count.
It applies
anymore.
to me too then.
He ruined it.
Yeah, it applies to me as well. It applies to what? Listen, you have to understand, kassad, the haters would say it applies to all of us. You know, they would just say, because essentially we're never allowed to be right. If we're even right,
like,
go on.
You throw enough shit takes out there, eventually you're going to get some of them right.
Yeah,
like that's what they always
do. But ironically, a lot of them never do seem to get any right. We know that works. They're just spewing takes all over the place. They're just, they're missing the target all the time.
More than a few of them. And they even get paid.
They're doing like the bullet outline, you know, the cartoon bullet outline where you fire the Tommy gun, but it just goes round and never hits. So that's what they do. They're amazing. It's impressive.
They'll have takes that are actually analyzing things, and then they'll still get it wrong. They'll probably still say at the end of this year that Zai was #1. It's like, okay, it's not even predictive.
I don't think there is any sane person that can say something like that right now.
Well, the joke is,
they're not sane.
Here's the joke, kassad, is because they're French fans, they could in 2 senses be insane. It's a straight fire. That's actually good, mate. I could have saved that for a desk if I ever worked him anymore, of course. But whatever. Listen, not bitter or anything, not bitter. It's all good. I did work that one massive event in Finland that was won by Czechoslovakia's Ents in 2024, who's now losing online. By the way, Maui, how jarring was that? Because it was the day after the final. So Carrigan is trying to become the GOAT by playing Spirit in the final of the major. The next day, I look online and I'm like, Glaive is losing an online CCT Cup final to Spirit Academy. I'm like, what is going on? What happened to my GOAT? What happened to my GOAT?
It was the same day.
Was it? That's even worse. That's even worse.
4 hours later.
Did you see that funny one where the guy lagged? Oh my god.
It was bad. It was bad. But listen,
it was. I
didn't see enough of my GOAT. If I had that Men in Black device Glaive, I would use it instantly and just remember the good times brought. So
wait, let me just take my first take on this one then, because I got it, and it's completely related to Spirit Academy. Okay,
what the fuck? To do it. Okay, it's gonna be kyousuke take. Come on, hit me with it.
Yeah, you already know. Like, okay, despite the fact that Spirit won, despite the fact that magixx had that performance in the
he's gonna kick magixx after the final.
They should still remove him and get kyousuke. They should still get him instead of magixx. The rest of the season would be so much easier. magixx is so frequently a hindrance to that team. I know what he did in the grand finals. I just saw it. That's why it's a hot take show, okay? Because magixx, more often than not, is a liability to this team, even more so than Chopper as an individual, okay? He gets run over on his bomb sites regularly. He can lose to pistols, even when he has an M4. He doesn't always even get the trade kills when he needs to. And for whatever reason, he's not going first every single time. True. You know, if he was going in front of Donk or something like that, then there would even be more of an excuse. But now, if I had kyousuke going 1 and 2 with Donk in any kind of entry path, Zontix can more naturally fit his late round position, and then also Chopper could be kind of more of a mid-late round guy himself, and Shiro could be a late round guy. The way that the team is structured as it stands is just, if kyousuke and Donk are both of the entry pack players, my God, are they just disgusting. So I would still make the move today, regardless of magixx's heroic grand finals performance, which should be remembered and praised, and I will do that, and I did do that on the desk of the major. But this is still how I feel about the team. kyousuke is better. That
is a hot take, kassad. You've got to give him that. That is quite a hot take.
No, I'm just thinking, like, whose nudes he had in PGL to get that desk spot to be the analyst for the major. Like, is he that Silvio guy? Who is it? Like, it has to be someone with that take.
By the way, also technically an even more edgy joke than kassad realizes, Maui, if you think about how this year went. But don't worry about that, because listen, kassad's kassad. He's going to do what he's going to do. Don't worry about it.
That is so wrong on so many fucking levels. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I remember back, like, when we were talking about Rain, and he needs to be removed from FaZe, and then he goes when they won that. What did they win? Stockholm or something?
Chengdu.
Yeah, no.
Oh no, you meant Antwerp.
That was probably Antwerp.
Yeah, Antwerp. Yeah,
Antwerp.
And then he was the MVP of the finals. Yes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he has this great performance, and everybody's, oh yeah, Rain is the fucking GOAT. He needs to stay. Who do you want to kick? And now we have magixx, who drops plus 30 on the grand final of a major, the biggest possible game in his career, and then there is Maui saying, oh yeah, they should just still kick him. Like, that have to apply in both ways. But for some reason, for you, it doesn't.
As far as I know, also, Maui would also kick Rain, but okay, just to be fair.
No, the reason why I'm saying it because he defended Rain back.
Right, I see what you mean, right afterwards, you mean. I see what you mean then, okay.
But the other point is, kyousuke is a good, talented kid, right? Yes. 1-2 on the T side, yes, okay. On the CT side, what the fuck he's gonna do? Who is gonna be your soft anchor there? kyousuke is gonna be your soft anchor on the site? No, absolutely fucking not. Hard anchor, Zontix, okay, he can stay. Soft anchor, somebody who can be patient. Do you think kyousuke can be patient? Absolutely fucking not. Do you think kyousuke is the guy who's gonna drop the flash to cave for donk on Anubis? Absolutely fucking not. Is he gonna be the one flashing out donk on the CT side, on Anubis on B side? Absolutely fucking not. So for him, naturally to fit into that role, for me is a big mistake. Maybe the guy is like versatile. Maybe he can change and then adapt. Yeah, I don't know it. I don't know the kid. But overall, from the eye test, from all these things that we see that he plays in the Spirit Academy, the way he plays is the similar, like a copy paste of the main team, where things are being done for him. Like, things are happening around for him. The frags are being setting up for him. And he obviously delivers because he's sharp and he's good. Donk delivers because he's incredibly good and incredibly talented and sharp. And, like, he doesn't miss. So, all these things, like, you cannot set up so many frags for both players. And especially if you put them on the same side. I gave you the example of Anubis CT side, B side. Because magixx is there, right? Together with Donk.
Yep.
And Chopper is the middle guy, and then the Zontix is A, Shiro is the rotation, right? So if you put those two people on paper, it's going to be, oh, you cannot enter the site, but it doesn't fucking work that way. You need to be proactive. You need to be like doing shit with your utility. You need to be counter flashing. You need to be calling the rotation, to be reading the route. Somebody needs to set up the kill in the crossfire. Somebody needs to be the first fucking target. Somebody needs to be the second. It's so much more than just putting two sharp people on the site and saying, okay, you two kids are good and then we're fine. It doesn't work that way. That used to work like that in 2016 or something. But now, not so much. So him going to that lineup, for me, I don't think so. Removing magixx, maybe he right now would be, I don't know if is the maybe not unethical, but it would be like kind of wrong. in a sense, because of the performance that he put in. I think that qualifies him to get a little bit more credit, because many better or players that we consider better got so many more chances. So for him to be stacked after that performance in the final, even though after he won that, like, he kept sitting down in his chair. I don't know what the fuck was that, but I guess everybody celebrates the way they celebrate. I don't know. It looked weird. But anyway,
you have to understand, Kassad, literally, obviously he wasn't smiling because the game was over. No. About 5 seconds later, the devil was going to appear and claim his soul that he sold before the match. It's the only reason he was able to frag like that. So he knew that the game was over. Look, he won, but that's it. He's off to hell. Yeah, he's off to hell now, mate.
Around the corner.
Because that was the fucking life. Mate, that was a life game and a half. That fucking fight. That was mental. He kept doing it the whole way. It was mad.
Maybe the kid is just not the something that we expect as fucking whatever. But it doesn't really matter. The point is
he had to reformat his hard drive right after.
Exactly.
The point is
he delete some DLLs. He was like, "Oh, excuse me, admin, I've just got to delete those notes. You know that notepad? What is it? Word.exe? Yeah, listen, that was just our notes from the game. I don't want anyone seeing those, so I'm just going to put them in the recycle bin." Right. Anyway, is that the end of Kassad's them all?
Yes.
Right. Here's the thing. I don't agree with Maui, but I do at the same time. Here's the problem. I actually think both of you have nailed something there, which is one of the reasons. This is where I can't get a fucking break, mate. Everyone who watches this show knows I'm one of the few Team Spirit supporters. Everyone else probably thought I was overhyping them most of the year. But knowing my luck, right, because they're all bloody speaking Russian, I won't say who, but certain people from Spirit who I've been talking to were going like, "And why? Can you please tell me why you are criticising us so much?" Like, I'm one of the only ones who's not. Everyone else in the whole scene's like, you're all washed. You kicked the fucking players. There's only one of you good on the team. By the way, you even know guys on Spirit, like, they all don't even think Shiro's good, for fuck's sake. Like, they're all saying he's a bomb and making him sound like wonderful in Navi or some shit like that. So, but anyway, I understand that, as usual, I will always be misunderstood by everyone until I'm probably dead. And then at my funeral, you'll all go like, maybe yes, I had to point that guy. Anyway, so to bring it all the way back, what I will say is this. The problem I have is, it depends on the role, like Kassad was implying. Like, I do think as an overall, if I just look at the big picture of Team Spirit, one of the most obvious problems they have is actually present in that final. Guys, they almost went to OT or actually got 2-0'd while Donk was doing like impossible fracking in the fucking game. So that means if this magixx performance didn't happen, sure, Shiro could have played a bit better. They could easily have still lost. While, I mean, by the way, what if Donk just gets 27 kills instead of 30? You know what I mean? It's just like they wouldn't even have won. So first things first, I'm sorry if your Spirit, one of your problems, believe it or not, is firepower. And it's also, like, not only is it firepower anyway, because sometimes, this is the biggest problem, I always say this is why I understand why people criticise Zontix, because magixx and Chopper are usually, statistically, such low fraggers, that if Zontix has a bad game, you have got Donk and then whatever you get from Shiro, which could be good, but that's 2 players having to do, like, the work of what normally would be 3 players in terms of fragging. Normally what 3 people who get you on the scoreboard. And so here's the problem. I actually think magixx's problem is Zontix. If Zontix was a bigger fragger, magixx could do what actually Kassad's inferring, which is the problem. If it was a different team, Kassad, if I can make a Russian super team and I put magixx in, like, my perfecto inter spot, he's really good at it. What you saw in that final, forget the frags. Look, it was insane that he was just headshotting people, first bullet, etc. But if you actually just watch, especially the nuke game, I want people to go back and watch the nuke CT side. That is some of the best CT nuke play I have actually seen in CS2 / maybe even CSGO. Like, he actually played some fucking like, every single round, no joke, he had a different setup and a different look with his site partner, by the way. And then also, do you see, like, the best round to show this, because I was doing a live view, was I actually called exactly what he was going to do. Do you remember the round when he was lower and he was holding off, like, the people coming in from, like, the ramp area to come and plant lower? And I even said on the fucking live stream, right, this is where, if you're magixx, you'd never do a real peek here. You're only peeking to bait them to keep chasing you around that silo while you're right around the back of it, you know, the bomb spot. And then all you're doing is peeking out so that they do the shot and then you dive back in and you waste, like, 2 more seconds while they run down. Because that's the scenario where normal players, loads of players, by the way, even maybe on Spirit, will just peek, and if they get the headshot, they win the round. If they get fragged, the site's open and you probably lose that round, or you're in a bad scenario. He was playing it picture perfect. And then, by the way, on the upper site, that was like, because I didn't know this reference, that was like some 1.6 Taz shit, where he was like the god of the hot. Like, anytime he was on the hot, he wasn't the best player, but I'm tell you what, he looked like it on that map. You could never get in the site. He would always reposition. He would take the kill at the door, then get the guy at the hut, then he'd get the guy at mini. Like, that was some of the... So, the problem is, I do actually rate magixx's brain. Like, his brain looks fucking mega, mate. Also, to have the wherewithal to actually do those things in a major finals, bonkers. The problem is, the fragging is complete fool's gold, because again, he didn't just do like a good one. His numbers were like what people like Simple and Nico Dream are doing in the finals. Like, he was actually like plus 30 in the finals, guys. And it wasn't like a plus 30, like it's a low fragging series. Didn't he get like 80 kills or 70 kills? Were insane over like 3 maps. Like, it was inhuman. It really was, like, I'm joking, like a life game. So my issue is, one, you can't expect that to happen again. I sort of agree with Kassad. Maybe that buys him, like, you know, the kind of 8 sale the first part of the next season. Then lastly, I'll just quickly switch to the kyousuke part. I don't claim to watch the academy level, so everyone's just told me the whole time, the whole year, this guy's basically like Donk. Now, there are people I saw, I think Nero maybe speculated about this, who claim maybe you could make the two of them work. Like, maybe then, like, if you notice, they do sometimes now put Chopper a bit more first instead of Donk. Maybe the kyousuke guy goes first and then Donk cleans up, which by the way might work, or vice versa. The problem is, I sort of agree with Kassad. To me, you're sort of getting the same player there, though, but you're taking out a smart, like, part of the structure. And so that's the issue I have. I don't think either work totally, but I think also, like, to me, I think the solution to they'll say it's like a Zontix move, or I don't even fucking know at this point in time.
Just the only move there is Zontix, right? And if they want to really go crazy with changing the IGL, but that's even crazy.
You know, I think the actual reason why... I'll tell you, I'll give you a quick reason. I think I know the reason why everyone's so horny for this move to happen. Because do you remember, you'll all remember this, do you remember before we came back into the offline world was when all the Academy League was running? And you remember, m0NESY already was easily the best Academy League player, if you don't remember. Like, he was fucking bonkers. And everyone used to say, but you can't put him in Na'Vi though, can you? Because you got Simple. And I actually know that if you're a Na'Vi fan now, you're like, oh, fuck, we could have had that guy. So I think everyone wants to be greedy and just keep all the stars, and they think, like, why would we like sell kyousuke to add up Virtus Pro when we could have like both to make it work? But the problem is, what Kassad's sort of getting at, I do sort of agree with, it's really hard to make two players like that work. And even though people are going to say, yeah, but he's young and he's malleable, no, but you're picking him up for what he showed you now, though. You're not picking him up for something he hasn't done yet. You're picking him up to be like Donk, basically. So I actually do think it might be tricky to make it work in a team. I don't know if I would do it or not, though, but who knows?
No, absolutely not. Also, tell me, can you name 5 players? What did we have? 19 majors, right? 20?
There was 19 in CSGO, there was 2 in CS2.
21.
So 21 total. How many players in the grand finals of the, every 21 of the fucking majors had plus 30 on the scoreboard?
Pretty sure, if I had to guess, unironically, it's probably not even 5. Like, that might be, like, maybe Simple, like an Olaf Meister in his prime. Like, there's not many, though, because think about it, mostly the finals are a pretty nervy game. Like, you don't tend to pop off in that. Yeah.
The guy dropped plus 30 in the grand final. Like, and we are talking about, like, removing him. That is why it's a great hot take. But yeah, keep going as usual. Listen, it's always going to be this way. That's what I like. That's what if we made progress, what would that be? Let's just stay in purgatory of hot take. I have to fucking be insane for this.
I know. This whole show, you have to understand, is just you going to the dentist once about 3 years ago, and as you're going under from the anaesthetic, the rest of your life was like, listen, obviously you didn't go to fucking Indonesia and play with a team called Bleed. It doesn't even make sense, mate. They'd be called Bleed and then they'd have no money at the end, like they're bleeding money. Like, mate, the whole thing's Huxley became the IGL G2 and he won like Cat One's Club. This is a bad dream, mate. Thorin was right about 7 times. Fuck, listen, you're going to wake up in a minute and go, what's that? And they're going to go, Kassad, quick, we're about to play what's it? Vanguard in the semi-finals of Starlight Berlin. Have you got the veto ready? He's like, oh boy. Little Jake Hester. Little Jake Hester, heart hasn't even been broken, still just all the youth, all the light in his eyes. As are there, like, hey Kassad, I'll always have a career as long as you're around, mate.
That would be a
shout out Asa, by the way.
To come
shout
to
out Asa.
All right, who is next? You, Duncan, let's go.
Did Maui do his? What was Maui's?
Yes.
Yeah,
Maui's was the magixx one.
The
magixx one. Okay. Right, I'll tell you what. Here's my take. So, right now, I actually think, this might sound mad, the problem we're having at the moment with Donk is people get confused. The same thing happened from Katowice. They get confused as to why, like, let's say on paper, by the way, I actually think the discussion is a legit one. Is Simple's best year, which I think is 2018, as good as Donk's year this year? My problem is that everyone else just keeps going, well, now it's definitely not the case. Like, First of all, if I see your profile and it says you're 19, shut the fuck up. You were like 12 when it happened. But okay, aside from that, like, I don't want to hear that for a start. I don't care what a 12-year-old thinks about anything. You might think that fucking Optimus Prime is better than Megatron. You're wrong. Go rewatch that cartoon, Megatron, and then Galvatron was totally based. But anyway, that's enough about my youth, and that might explain something about who I am as a person. But never mind. The point is, you're wrong. Now, but when people do that comparison, obviously the problem is, part of your brain fights against it because you don't want to give someone who had 1 year in their career the status of Simple, who had like fucking 6-7 years that were bonkers like that. So I feel like actually right now, this is why I try to make my hot takes based on what other people think too. So I think right now, the hot take, people would say it's actually a cold take to say that like Donk could win the most majors because look at it, skill-wise, he has the chance to, bro. Like, never seen a player like this. But here's my take I'm going to give. And it's actually going to tie into what I just said about Spirit and that final. If you think how many times this year Donk went absolutely supernova and then you go look at the game and they barely win. Like, bro, that is really disturbing to me. Like, what it implies basically is, what if this guy played 5% less? Would they have just like won only Katowice this year? Would they have made like one final or something? What would have happened? How would it work? So here's my hot take. I actually think Donk won't ever end up as the player with the most majors and the most trophies and all that jazz, because I actually think the problem he has in this style, it basically ties in, so I'm going to leave the room here because then you can all jump in with whatever you want. It's actually the reason why, unfortunately, no matter how crazy the stats get, I actually am probably going to be biased towards Monacy. I always say it, because I said earlier, Vu did kind of convince me. When I watch Donk play, I do think I've never seen a player play this well or in this way. But when I watch Monacy play, I also think, like, that's the player that will win me the most games. Like, have you ever heard this quote, Maui, from basketball? Where it was a quote that Pat Riley, the coach of the Lakers, said to give credit to Larry Bird. He said, if I had to pick someone to hit a shot to win a game, I'd pick Michael Jordan. But if I had to pick someone to hit a shot to save my life, I'd pick Larry Bird. Because his point there was because he coached against him, he knew, like, that guy's a killer. He'll get you every time when it matters. That's the difference. I feel like the problem is, Donk could be the best player ever, but the thing is, the way Monacy closes the game out, that wins you games, mate. Like, he's so polished with how he closes out. So my problem essentially is, I actually think Donk's in a really tough spot, because right now he's got Shiro, that's like some consistency. They've got a good system in terms of the team. They seem like the coach does a good job. Chopper called a good game, by the way. magixx had this live performance. Maybe Zontic's turn. My issue is, I could see over the future years, I think he's going to have some hard, simple like years where you're just like carrying like fuck out the game and all the stats are crazy, but you don't actually win. Like, you lose, or some teammate lets you down, or you can't get over the line, or here's the thing you saw actually part of this season, your map pool goes to shit and you've got like 2.5 maps or something. So I actually think it wouldn't surprise me if Donk just ends his career on like 1 or 2 majors. I think it's going to be really hard, because the problem is, even if you do what this guy can do, have a whole game where you just kill 2 people at the beginning of the round, you actually can lose the round if you don't have good enough teammates. If the rest, that's why in a weird way, Monacy, I have the bias, because when Monacy wins the round, it ends the round. The round is won. I don't have to then worry. No one can fuck it up now. If anything, he's correcting the fuck up of Hunter early in the round or something. There you go. It's a shot for kassad there. What do you guys think? That's my hot take. He might only end on 1 or 2 majors. There you go. Hot take.
I mean, I've made this statement before, and I still stand by this, that the peak of riflers is so much more fleeting than oppers.
Sure.
Because the skill upkeep is way higher. I like, you can op really well for 3-4 years, 5 years, but you can't. But how often are you still seeing? That's why Nico is still incredibly impressive, and that's why he's the greatest in a lot of different ways. Because the skill upkeep that Nico's going through, and the way that he's even changing his mechanics to fit the game, is much tougher than what oppers have.
Just think about this, Maui. The reason everyone, even haters, acknowledge Nico as the GOAT rifler is because he just outlasted all the rest. Even though the majors get right, all off, they're all gone. So because they aren't even here anymore, he just wins by default, and he's obviously the best.
Dude, even guys that are supposed to be contesting Nico fall off 2 years later.
True.
Like, Axel was nowhere to be seen this year. You know,
Robs,
like Robs has these like peaks and troughs, and like he goes up and down. Like Rain can't even really keep it going until it's the biggest events in the world. Like, he's not doing it through the whole season. Nico's doing it the entire season, every single time. But the thing is, like, when it comes to oppers, dude, Torzy was good all year. like Wonderful's pretty good all year. Like, Zai was really good all year. Monacy's good all year. Like, they'll have occasional events, like the single one-offs for those guys. But for oppers, so much of the game is set up around them, and also the way they actually play the game is purely aim sometimes. It's decision-making and it's aim. But with Donk, there's 3 things you have to do. You have to do decision-making, you have to do aim, but you actually have to have movement that avoids what other people want to do to you constantly. Like if you watch back that 1v5 he has against Heroic, he's doing things in movement nobody's doing.
Yes.
He's going up and down, sliding down, wall spraying, transferring.
Yes.
Like he's doing, like, the upkeep there is just absurd. Like, but if it's Monacy, he's gonna take one peek, have an incredibly fast shot. He's going to hit it because he's pinpoint accurate while being lightning fast. But all he has to really think about is strafe into angle, shoot, strafe out of angle. Whereas Donk is mid-fight, strafing, holding crouch, moving left and right. Like, he's making his view model or his hitbox like insanely difficult to track while he's getting his own on that shot. So no, I think like Donk's upkeep is just where it's like, how long can he really keep it up? Because like I think they even showed before, Donk might even have more hours than Monacy. Like he actually has like 20,000 hours in the game at that age, and it's like that's what you need to do to be this kind of rifler. Like you need this many hours. Whereas like if you can't waltz up and like with like 30 hours as a rifler like in the past 2 weeks, you'll just be shit. You'll just be so bad. Like it's not possible. So
I like the way by putting these guys, Donk and Monacy, onto CS when they're like 6 years old, we've just achieved like the hyperbolic time chamber Maui saw. In their rookie year, they're already like, I've already played a million years of CS. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, the amount of hours they have, like a lot of them probably have more hours than even guys you would consider tier 1 pros that have been around for a long time.
I'll bet I'll bet they have more hours than like, I don't know, Freiburg or something, you know, just like a normal pro.
Oh yeah, for sure. Donk has more hours than Freiburg. I'm just gonna say that. Like even without technically knowing Freiburg's hours, just watching him play the game.
By the way, also, since you brought it up, you know when everyone did that thing where they were like, hey, the Donk one was sick, but check out this Skulls one. The Skulls one was the fucking meme of like, we have Donks 1v5 at home. His was just going out normally shooting. I agree with Maui. His Donks was like spray transfer, like dodge around bullets. Like his was bonkers, mate.
Skulls' highlight is something I would have seen in 2017. Donk's highlights from the future.
Yes,
like nobody's doing
one.
that. Yeah,
True.
And he kills the last guy who's not moving.
I know.
Like
I know.
let's not forget that.
He's just sat diffusing. Exactly. I know.
Yeah, he's just standing still. Okay. All right. I want to hear what Kassad has to say.
Yeah, come on, Kassad.
I think that your hot take is hot, but sadly you're wrong.
I'm wrong about the future, but it's all good. I'm ready. It's all good.
You're wrong. The thing is, like, where do I start? There's several reasons for it. First of all,
listen, there's always layers to how wrong we are, man. We're never just flat out wrong. We're like, it's like it's like an onion. You've got to peel back how wrong we are to get the core of why we're so fucking wrong. But come on, hit me with it.
I wanna talk about, like, you mentioned NBA, so I'm gonna reference to that as well. Let's talk about Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. Didn't he have like superstar level performance in all 6 titles? Years, seasons,
yeah, absolutely,
and on top of the ones that they didn't in the championships.
He also could have been other.
So he had numbers that Donk is having right now in CS, right? And he continued with that for like 6 years. Also, I'll be fair, and I say that basketball and the science of basketball and the infrastructure and everything around it is much more developed than CS, obviously, yes. But the point still remains. Jordan had like insane numbers throughout his career. Donk can do the same. One thing that we didn't really take it into account when you say like, okay, he's gonna win 1 or 2 matches. He's 17. Like that's 2 years on Monacy, right? 2 years younger than Monacy. Also, he's from the region, the same region as Monacy is, the same country that Monacy is. So if they pair up, you know what can happen, right?
Agreed.
The third aspect of it is obviously you have to compare who Monacy played with and who Donk played with.
Okay.
And who Donk won the major with and who Monacy didn't win the major with. So let's take it like one player at a time. The next best player in after Monacy in G2 is what? Deco? Yeah? You agree?
Yes.
The next best player after Donk is who? Shiro?
Yeah.
Between Shiro and Nico is 4 times better. Overall.
He's done it again, Maui. This is the thing about Kassad. That's not even the hot take. By the way, the idea that Chiro is 4 times worse than Nico should just be the hot take itself. But he gave it. That was for free. You know, like when you go to the restaurants you go to, Maui, and you order the normal like meal, and then the chef just goes, compliments to the chef. Here's like, you know, a squid mixed with Kassad just gives you these little freebies. And keep going. I shouldn't interrupt. Just keep going. You might drop some more fucking jewels. Okay, let me just strap in, right? Nico's 4 times better than Shiro. Okay, right, I'm in.
Who is the next best player in G2?
I'm scared to say, but I feel like it's Malbs, so Hit me with it.
Let's say, but let's say who you want. Like
Malbs.
Malbs. All right. Malbs. Who is the next player in Spirit after Sheer and
Zontix, maybe?
Is it Zontix?
Isn't it?
Let's say Zontix, yeah? So compare Zontix and fucking Malbs right now.
Go on.
Who is the better and more complete player? So overall, like, I'm not even going to go into 4 and 5 because we're going to end up on hooks here somehow. But the thing is, the bottom line is, like, look at the teammates and look at the, you know, and also the coaching. Right now, what can happen to Donk if he lands under Blade? 2 years from now, when he's 19. Or both of them land in Navi under Blade when they're 21 and 19.
I mean, listen, I will say, we are imagining a different world potentially for that, but yeah, true.
But still,
that was possible in the past.
Let's say. I mean, we see that, we saw that happen. But it doesn't have to be Navi. It can be something else, right? VP, right? It can be VP. But the bottom line is, take 10 years from now, 9 years, 8 years, whatever, that's 2 times 16 majors, more. Even
you think
more.
It's likely they can get to these sorts of like better teammates, better coaching?
Right? Yes, absolutely. I think they can reach to 5 at least.
Okay.
You say 1, 2, I think they can, because if they were a different region, if they were like, you know, I would maybe agree with you. If they're like, say, Brazilian or something, or I don't even know, American for that matter, right? So, but they're from Russia, they're from the region, they're 17 and 19. Both of them are gonna get probably over 4 majors. If not, they're gonna. Who is the best one? Dupree now with 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they might even skip to that one. I'm gonna counter it with over 5.
Yeah.
Because like
listen, Maui. He thought for a second. I've been a bit too conservative there. I know I've just given 2 players that between the 2 of them won 1 major. But you know what? I don't want to just settle for them having 8 majors between them. Fuck it, 10. I love kassad, and he's presented that like a reasonable take. I know. He's doing it again. All of his accidental comments are the insanest hot takes on the show.
They're better hot takes than the actual takes.
Like, by the way, again, kassad, write it down, mate. Monacy will win 5 majors alone is an amazing hot take. He hasn't won 1 pro. Hasn't even been in the finals.
No. Like, Donk will win 5. Like, I would say that. I would say that rather than Monacy.
All right, shall I give you a counter? But it's more of just a humorous story counter. Here's the one angle I don't fuck with Donk. You know the thing about Donk is you watch him play and you just think in terms of like demeanor and his style of play, he doesn't look like a 17-year-old. In real life, he looks incredibly like he looks like a 14-year-old. And then also, when he's like skipping over like. Here's my counter as to why he also won't win because of the scene he's in, kassad. Because, unfortunately for him, he's going to think like you. He's going to think, I don't need to kick magixx, mate. What are you talking about? He was dropping 30 bombs for me in the final. Chopper and Hallie, they're the shit, mate. They're the ones that set me up. He's going to actually be mega bought into this team. He's going to be like team spirit, man. He'll never be able to leave, by the way. It's going to be like simple in Navi in theory. Where the next and then here's the other angle I'll give you. Because he's just 17. And by the way, the real problem Donk has is he hasn't actually faced adversity. He walked into CS, dropped the best final ever, then had a very good year when his team struggled, then just fucked around at the end, won the major, topped all the stats, dropped the 30 bomb on FaZe clan for fuck's sake, walked out. So to him, I don't think he yet knows things like what you're saying. Like, what you're saying is right. That's what someone, by the way, like Nico, if people wonder why is he going to Falcons, because he's sick of fucking losing and waiting for people to put the team around him. He's like, make it for me now, because I need to win now while I'm good. I think it'll take, unfortunately, believe it or not, I think winning might make Donk take a few extra years to realise you got to get with the right people and it can't just be you know, because I don't know, I feel like he's like in a movie sense, he's right. You should stick with them all. It worked, but we're being cynical. We're trying to, make him maximize his career, right?
Listen, let's get something straight. I didn't say they shouldn't kick magixx. I just said he earned a little bit more credit because of this. Nobody's denying that he had a shit year. Nobody denied that he fucking dragged them down in multiple events.
By the way, without trying to provoke you too much, kassad, can I just ask you a question? You did say during this major, before it was over, that you still think Nico was better than Donk. True?
Yes, but Nico is better than Donk.
That's a hot take right there. But mate, why write these down? These are the hot takes.
Listen, Nico is better than Donk overall.
Yeah, right now though.
Overall, but I admitted it publicly, and I'll say it here as well. Donk, best player of 2024, no doubt.
Okay.
Donk, the absolute best rookie year that any CS player in any version had ever. No doubt. But can you compare him to likes of Nico or other players of that caliber? Now we're entering the 4th or the 5th year of Zaivu. You want to compare him with it? No. Absolutely fucking not. Nico is better. ZywOo is better.
Kassad right doesn't mean as a player in the world. He means overall. That's the whole career.
Overall, obviously. Right, overall,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But 2024 completely belongs to Donk. Like, he dominated the whole year. I mean, he might be in the top 5 rifles right now. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is,
I appreciate that he remembered his own shit take from earlier in the year, Maui. Remember when that was a real take that he he wasn't a top 5 rifler. And then even better, it's almost like Kassad's, his brain, I think it's not his conscious, but it's his subconscious is finally getting how comedy works and timing, Maui. Because remember, he always remembers to say someone's not top 5 and then can't name 5. Like, that punchline works every single time. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It happened once, and it's always going to follow me. But the thing...
Yeah, that's why I got you on Twitter. By the way, a good callback with the Wikidia. When you were like, because you know when I did that one where I was like the Kings of CS, Maui, and it was like Blade and Alexi, and then it was obviously Donk, Mauisnake, and ZywOo. And then Kassad was like, "You're missing someone," and I just put in like the Wikidia picture. Like,
I mean, he was there. But no, the thing is, like, what I was going to say, definitely in a larger picture, in a bigger scale, like the same way we couldn't compare ZywOo early on to Nico, simple.
That's fair.
For that matter, we cannot compare Donk to them.
By the way, you nailed it.
Fair.
On this show, you actually invented it. I agree with you. In a way, it is better to say someone's aim is sharp rather than like they're the more skilled player. Because in a way, we do imply when you're skilled, like, there's like a polish to it and a technique to it. Like, that is the problem, isn't it, Kassad? Because Donk is shooting the hardest, people are going to make like he's complete in every sense. But he isn't yet. Like, that's not true. Like, Nico has... The difference is Nico could do other roles in teams that we don't know if Donk could do yet, you know?
Yeah, you know who is skilled? Robs is skilled.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's a definition of a skilled player.
Yes.
He doesn't have to be flashy, moves from the future, like Maui says, like, it's just pure skill, raw skill, right?
Yes.
And then how you refine it after, it's up to the player himself. But bottom line, Donk 2024, you know, #1, you know, you can put the crown of that fucking year.
Okay.
Overall, you cannot compare them. You cannot compare a rookie player to the all-time greatness. Like, you cannot. Did people compare fucking LeBron with Jordan? First year in fucking Cleveland? Or Kobe Bryant the first year in...
but it wasn't good,
or
obviously.
Kobe Bryant in the first year in fucking Charlotte Hornets or whatever the fuck was
it. Was the Lakers, but he was just on the bench, yeah, true.
Yes. You see what I'm talking about? Like, you cannot compare them. Like, you know, you can have like different players and fucking Reggie Miller or fucking Dwayne Wade or, you know, all these people. Like, you cannot compare them to Jordan in the first year.
Okay.
Later on, we can have this discussion, but yeah.
Okay. Maui, do you have another take?
Is it me?
Yeah, what was Kassad's take even?
Oh, right, he didn't do a take. Oh, he skipped one, okay. I mean, the joke is, in answering me, you dropped about 7 hot takes that were all better than the whole show, weren't they? It was mental.
I've been thinking where to go with this one. Should I focus on the team or the game? And I was going to think about the actual game itself, and I'm going to say that it's Valve's fault for everything being shit.
Wait a minute, Kassad, that's not a hot take, is it, in TS? Come on, bro. Come on. That's all. That's what every fan on Reddit thinks. Like...
No, I was going to say, like, the reasoning, I'll go into my team hot take, whatever. The reasoning that I had for this is because, like, why are we having this lottery, like, performances, why the game is shit, why the teams are unstable, why the yours are unstable, nobody's like going into CS, like you see the contracts are fucked up, the rule books are fucked up, all these things, Astralis with a stand-in, then Valve with their rankings, which is fucking stupid, where you can like have a female team winning 2 events and then they're automatically qualified, but we don't know if that's the rule or not, and nobody's saying, I don't know what the fuck is happening. So those things are making fucking teams unstable. Like players that are underperforming because the game is not like ready for competitive environment, and the players are getting swapped between the teams. Teams are unstable. The fucking market is in the shittiest place ever, and that's what I meant by it's Valve's fault for that being like that type of a hot take. Not just because the game is shit itself, right? It's the consequences of all things. But we don't have to talk about it. We can switch to another one, and I'm gonna say that Falcons are not gonna make the first major. Unless they buy a core. Unless they buy a fucking core. Again. So let's rewind on the fucking last year. They bought a core of Ants in the last moment when they kicked Longs and MHL, right?
Yeah.
And then they got Snappy, they got Madden, and they got some Pious. So they can get a core. They paid 1 million, whatever the fuck. They paid more money for Blast. They played these events. We know how the year ended. They were probably down $4 million by my calculation in the fucking... because they had no sponsors, so they just, you know, wasted that. And now they're going back to what? We simple said he's not joining Falcons. That's as far as we know. They removed 3 players. Sam Pius is on the bench, and they have magixx left, right? In the lineup. Let's say they bring Nico, that's 2. So they have 3 spots left. They need somebody who have the points, right? If they don't, if they get the individuals,
right.
If they get individuals, that means they start from the fucking bottom.
Right.
Not from 0, I think you start from 900 or something, I can't remember. But you start very low.
So even if they get like Yimfat or something, it'll still be a hard road through the online qualifier.
Unless they scam, buy, or fucking weasel their way into the fucking rankings, they cannot make even close to the major. And by the time, even if they get to the spot which leads to the RMR or whatever the fuck, wherever the fuck leads to, it's gonna be hard for them to actually be, on the major, right? So overall, they're in a very tough spot because of poor management, poor fucking decision making, whatever the fuck happened there. Lies that people are saying to each other in the fucking between the players and the staff, and we know the story behind the scenes pretty much, but obviously we cannot say anything. But all the things that has happened really put Falcons in the same spot as the last year, just $4 million less in their fucking, which is for them pretty much nothing, right? But for mortals like us, it's a lot of money. But the bottom line is like they haven't moved a single inch since last December. A single inch or centimeter or whatever the fuck you're watching from. But the bottom line, like I said, again, is whoever they get, unless it's a core, they cannot qualify and they're going to miss the first major of the year.
Thoughts, Maui?
I mean, I had to look at the Valve rankings and stuff, and I'm not exactly sure what they have in terms of points when they change people.
That's another Valve fuck up, Maui. That's another Valve fucking mistake. You don't know, as a person who is involved in the community and should be aware of these things, you are not sure how these fucking things work. Imagine the casual fucking viewer or fan who needs to like find out these things. How the fuck would they know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the GitHub to read all of it changes rules now and then, and I've noticed rules changing in the past. So I can't even say if like the things I read in the past, because I thought it was like something about, you're saying you buy the core, which should have like a high percentage of the points that you carry forward.
Yes.
But then if they get Nico, I don't really know. Do they get all of his points as an individual that he strips? Yeah. So then, okay, well then they're fucked. They're just completely fucked. Like, because I don't even know, because that is the scariest thing about this new Valve ranking system, is that if you come into it with a brand new team, some people are stating that this might be the demise of tier 3/tier 2, because how are you supposed to, as the 100th ranked team, ever get to become a top 32 ranked team and then actually get to have a chance at the major? So I personally don't know how they're gonna get there. So I know there's some open qualifiers that PGL are running through their circuit. Yeah, there are a handful of those kinds of qualifiers. So they basically have to go that route, and to do that with Nico and a few people online,
tier 2 events, right? There is tier 2 events which like top 8 teams or 16 teams cannot attend, or top 10, something like that. As far as I understand, the top 10 teams from the Valve rankings, they cannot attend the tier 2 events. Right?
Yeah.
And then there is spots for lesser teams through open qualifiers to get to tier 2. Then you make some points, get to tier whatever, right?
Right.
Something like that. But it's still fucked up and all messed up that we don't have a clear path. Let's say you are joining an organization right now, or you are owning an organization. You ask somebody in the fucking community, that has a pulse on the fucking thing, and he cannot tell you how to qualify. Straight up, before like researching 10 different million things. It's just a mess. But yeah, Falcons, tell me what you think.
As a team overall, I mean, dude, I think every single time you've done on one of these points, and you, by the way, have been right every single time.
It's a pretty good
qualify
point,
for Copenhagen. They didn't qualify for this one either. So you've been on the money for the Falcons Preds. I mean, like, it's crazy you even say it now, given that they're gonna get Nico. Like, that's where I'm like, wow, you put your lack of faith in Falcons as being greater than your faith of them having Nico. But then I feel like you've changed the point to basically say this is because the system that they're entering is not going to work in their favor at all. Like,
unless
what?
they pay their way into it somehow, or they get a core, or they get a wild card spot, or some bullshit.
Basically, I'll tell you the obvious ones. Unless they somehow sign the 3 mouse players in the core or 3 vitality players, you know, the teams that maybe it's possible to. Unless they do that, it's not going to happen. Then, yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
that also puts Nico in a perspective from last year. You remember that he said he didn't want to. The story was that he didn't want to join last year's Falcons because he wanted to play the events. What's different? Now?
Yeah, partner spot. He wanted partner spot team for sure.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
And ultimately, Falcons got a partner spot in Blast, but just whatever. Anyway, a problem for them if they don't get the points or they don't pay their way in.
Yeah, it's tough to. I mean, does Thorin have anything to say? I guess on this one.
Yeah, go on. Here's what I would say.
It just seems like a system error. It's like it's the system's working against.
The problem is, I also think kassad should have been more bold. What he really means is this. He also thinks if they just sign individual pieces, by the way, his obvious teams you could compare this to. Maybe it'll be like that Team Liquid super team. On paper, it all looked great, but there wasn't a core. And we were all just, hoping it somehow figures itself out. This guy could go in that role, he could play there. But you never know. And unfortunately, it is a lot less guaranteed. Now, I will say at the same time, signing the end score didn't work because they didn't have the star player. Sure, you don't imagine that'll be the problem this time. They're having Nico. They don't have Boros/Dupree this time. But I sort of agree. I will say, I actually think it might be more of a CS2 thing than a CSGO thing. I think one of the things I've tried to talk about on my shows is I do feel like the sort of rules or guidelines on how to build a squad in CSGO don't work the same way in CS2. Like I always say, on paper, the best example is this heroic squad. I always thought on paper that looks amazing. That should be the fucking 5th best team in the world. But they're probably the 8th best team. You know what I mean? Just in CS2, you need a little bit more firepower. Maybe you don't need those set roles. Maybe you can have more stars and that actually just works out for you. The fuck knows. So I sort of agree. But here's the problem though. If it was just that, they'll have a hard time to start with, or if they build a totally fresh lineup here, no one can know their identity, I could be with you on that one. The idea they won't qualify at all. Look, I'll give you this. I have always thought the most unfair thing about how people like you, and even past Falcons lineups, were treated in Team Liquid, is these plebs just don't know, bro. In a fucked up way, just to show plebs what that fucking online qualifier system is like, and how hard it is to get into tournaments when you're not in at the initial point with the invites. I wish I could just take, all the best teams of this year and just put them all into open qualifiers and have them start the year over again, and everyone has to just qualify for the events. You don't ever get an invite. So this Na'Vi squad, they don't get to just be at kind of it. They just have to start in the qual. If you did that, I'm not even joking, you could take the top 10, and I think at least 2 teams wouldn't even make a bunch of the tournaments. I think 2 of them would just get the cheaters, the match fixers. You have a bad game, you have a game at 4 in the morning because of the delays, or a server problem, or one person's pings off. There's a million things can go wrong. And so unfortunately, I do think people massively underestimate that. They really think but these are professionals, and they think that gets you through. Go watch my interview I did with Ash from Gamer Legion, and he tells the story basically of why it's almost, the joke is this guy played in a major final. He thinks the nightmare is trying to play in bloody tier 2 online. He says it's impossible. You play a million teams, they've all got a new strat, they've all built the aspects are so many more. They're not skilled players, but everything else can actually be what you call a banana peel you can slip on, as it were. So, but even so, the problem is though, that's cause when you were building it out there, you were really concerned. You were okay, they get Nico. Who else have they got? Maybe some pies on that. I'll go more what could happen, right? Let's say they get Nico. They've already got magixx. By the way, everyone's already hinting at it. We don't even know. Is that going to be he's doing the IGL swap? Is he staying as a lurky type player? By the way, he was fucking mega at that at the end of Falcons, admittedly at the end. If you imagine a team with Nico, magixx, you've already got some players that you see. You could bring him back. It could just be the AWPer. There's nothing wrong with that. If you then did add in something it was rumoured maybe Yimfat joins this team, mate, I'm already sort of cooking there. That's a pretty good lineup we're starting to make there. It's one of the reasons why I do believe all the people who think Falcons will be shit forever. It's I don't think it's possible, unless you're really bad. Put it this way, because I don't know the reference. If you're like Everton, yeah, you could have $10 billion. You'll just spend them all the wrong place. You'll make a shit team. But if you actually are Real Madrid, you're not signing bad players. You're also spending that money to sign really good players. So what you do is, if it doesn't work out this time, you sign the next slot, and everyone knows Real Madrid will keep signing player. If the Hendrick guy doesn't work out, you sign another person. If fucking Bellingham goes off a game, you sign another person. And everyone wants to join. And that's the other thing. Those 2 factors exist for Falcons. I think big star players do want to join. That's why why I've heard a lot of rumours behind the scenes of names that were at least considered. And then 2, I think they will just keep spamming money. I think if it doesn't work each major season, they'll just spam more money and get another person. Like, the joke is, whoever proves them wrong, say some guy over here does become a mate, then he'll be in the team next season, and eventually it will work. So maybe you're right in the short term. I don't hate the idea they don't qualify for the first one, because you're right, if they go through like some bullshit online qualifiers, who even knows? There's a bigger chance than fans realise, but I do think they'll get it together, so I'm sort of in the middle on that one. I'm in the middle.
Maybe you know something more than I do, I guess.
What, you think... Here's what... All right, then. All right, you don't have to put cards on the table, but you're hinting that you think it might even just end up being like Nico, and then they're just like... And some underwhelming lineup. You don't think it's going to be some super team?
The problem is I don't fucking know.
Right.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
All my fucking life, I don't know. Okay. That's why I'm saying this, because I'm speculating that they're gonna not get the core, right? They're gonna get.
Well, the thing is, Kassad, to be fair, I'm trying to help them because I'm actually taking a page out of some of the geniuses. Get ready for this, mate. Just think about what I'm saying. I'm taking a page. I like to learn from others, so I've seen some of the mega minds of CS, and what I've done already, Kassad, it's crazy. I've already reached out to Falcons, and I've introduced them to a player called Mauisnake, and I've told them he's really fucking insane. And if they sign him, by the way, then I could never do anything negative to him, no matter what. Even if, like, say his country went to war with my country, that would never at all change my opinion, because I told the team. And secondly, I sort of, like, listen, hot tip, this Mauisnake guy's pretty fucking good. And also, do you know why that's a great joke? Because he also has been in the semi-finals of a major. But that doesn't matter. I discovered him. I found him. Now, if you don't know, you have to have just sadly followed all the back bullshit petty grievances of Twitter to know why that's a straight-fire joke. But whatever. If you haven't, if you're just a normal person who lives a normal life, I feel bad for you. Yeah.
Like, you missed that one. I did with Messi, it's fine. Yeah.
Exactly,
Whoever missed that, I was the one who found them.
I know.
I introduced them.
I love it.
I fucking told them.
God.
What a fucking delusional idiot.
We don't mention it, though, is it? We're keeping it off the show. It's okay. It's all right. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. It's all good. Right, do you want to go to my take now?
You
have one?
Go to yours.
Who is it? Who is it? Is it Maui? Oh, yeah, it's you, Maui.
It's me or... Yeah, okay. Okay. I have a couple. I'll save a hotter one for the end, but I think one thing that's I find a little bit... Maybe one of your takes will disprove this, but I was talking to Nero about like the awards for the HLTV Superlative: Best Opper, Best Anchor, Best Opener, Best IGL, Best Coach, Best Team. And I think that one thing that's actually very weird about this year, and I don't even know if this is really a hot take, but that's why I'm putting it in the middle of the show, is just that I actually think the answer for every single superlative is incredibly obvious. I think the best opper of the year is easily Mauisnake. The best anchor of the year is definitely Bit. The best opener is Donk. The best IGL is Aleksandar. The best coach is Blade. The best team is Navi. And I actually think the race for number 2 in every category is where everything is interesting. I don't think any of the number 1s are very interesting at all. So that, I guess the hot take is we know the answer to every number 1 by almost every metric.
Team is Navi, though.
Yeah.
Let's debate that one.
It's like 6 grand finals in a row.
You're the same person who didn't even believe in team spirit. You're now going to rally and say they're the team of the year.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything. Why did you interpret my tone?
Who is it then? Who is it then? G2?
I didn't say anything. I said just, are they or they're not?
It feels obvious to me.
Because I have to fucking...
They were in all those finals, They were pretty good.
6 finals, yes, but how many titles? 6, 5, 6.
Did win a major too. Fluke, but still won a major. Still counts.
They won a major. Yeah. I guess, Spirit is close to them, but like not close enough to contest that number 1 spot, even though the year ended the way it did.
True.
What did Spirit win? They won Katowice, they won Blast, and they won...
Some bet booms.
They won a spring finals.
They won a Blast.
Yeah, the real events are the spring finals, the Kato, and the major.
Yes.
So, I guess they're close to them, but not close enough to kind of say that
some finals as well. By the way, I think you can have the discussion, but to me, surely everyone's going to pick Navi in the end. They were the team of they defined the year, right? They defined the year.
Yes, they did. I think we talked about that team the most as the real team in the past 12 months.
And I think just eye test as a team, not just like players as a team.
Win all the bet. Remember, Spirit didn't even win all those bet booms.
They lost against Mouse, right?
They won the second one against Eternal Fire in the finals. They didn't even have to play them in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah.
So, they only came in second place, by the way, at one other event, which was the Blast World Final. The other events, they were just 5th to 6th, 3rd to 4th, 5th to 8th. You know, they're like Navi's consistency is way stronger. So I think the only other one that people might like have a knee jerk and say that's not right is Bit for Navi, but then you start looking at the other anchors.
Who else would they pick?
Yeah, I that's the thing. I think people, it's just because he doesn't pop off as
I'm with you.
A top 3 player in the world, but then you think of, okay, wait, who are actually the other great?
No, I think he wins that one. Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I think he has to win. Yeah, I think he has to win.
There is nobody else. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I think you're right when it comes to all the roles. But when it comes to the second place, why even talk about it? Like, you don't win second place, you get second place. Like,
I mean, it's for history.
Like, for history for what? Like, who the fuck cares?
Well, like if you say a guy has been top 3 in roles for the past 4 years. Well, then, okay, Nico's last.
Here's
then
the
Nico's
thing.
last.
What kassad?
Nico's not the opener of the year.
Here's what he means, kassad.
So what?
Here's what he means. Is let's imagine. Look, it didn't happen. Actually, in pretty much all the years they were number 1, Zewu and Simple were like each. One was 1 and 1 was 2, right? But imagine if, for example, I'll do it the other way, just so a dickhead Zewu fan doesn't have to comment. Imagine Zewu had been number 1 the exact number of times he was, and number 2, but then Simple had only been number 1 and not number 2. Let's imagine on the years he wasn't number 1, he was number 5. I know what Maui means. If in history you look back, that would actually intuitively allow someone to say, oh, over the time though, he was on average better, wasn't he? So I know what he means. There's a marker in history. It's not the same as winning. I agree. It's not the same, but it's worth noting the person was excellent.
Look at NBA again. Look at NBA MVPs. Like, is anybody talking about the second
No, but here's the thing. That's different because MVP, true, no one remembers. But actually, people do care who's on like the All-Pro second team and shit.
All
NBA.
Yeah, they have 15 players that are All NBA.
All NBA, yes, but like this.
In fact, I'll tell you a reason why. The reason why the all lists for the NFL for the NBA are actually useful is because oftentimes you can't get on the first team if like your team's shit, but you did awesome. But they'll give you the second team one. They'll give you like you were insane. Like by the way, someone like a Michael Jordan would have been on the second team in a year when the Bulls were shit. You know, like that's a way to still give him his status and show what you said earlier, that like he was amazing even if his team wasn't. By the way, that would have been perfect for Donk if Spirit had been shit. What if they'd have only made like one final
of the year or what?
I don't know if they do, but he's almost certainly going to win it, isn't he? Like,
no, I think if they don't, they should have it. Like we should have.
I believe they did.
They
had it in the past, I believe.
Should be there. But anyway, I think you're right. I think you're right mostly.
Sure.
When it comes to the second place. Like, I'll just tell you, I don't give a fuck. So,
yeah. By the way, though, I actually think the reason why you're right, though, is because if you think about each of those players, it's just that actually the year almost played out perfectly to get all of those people into that position. Like, think of it, right? The way someone like Bit, the only way he could have gotten, like, Anchor of the Year like that is Navi has to have 1 billion finals, etc. Like, it's not like he is, like, a top 5 player in the world, is he? And then you go and look at the others.
Duncan, is Navi having a bunch of finals because he's anchoring like that? Or is the other way around?
Yeah, but my point is, if his team was worse, he doesn't have a choice, mate.
Yeah, but he's the one who's making his team good.
No, you missed it. I mean, his teammates. Like, if I take what, like, for example, if Emma played like he did in the first season, Bit doesn't get to have this status because, you know, he'd be in the quarters every time. So there is that part, but that's also what I mean. I also think, for example, like a lot of, I said this before we started the show to Maui. In a way, I'm glad Spirit won the major and fucking Donk was the MVP because otherwise, I think actually, sadly, all this discussion would have gone the other way. Even though he could have played identically, he could have had exactly the same number of kills, same performance. If magixx plays worse or even worse, by the way, I'll tell you the one thing no one's even talking about. If Carrigan actually didn't pussy out in the veto and actually did do some crazy shit instead of doing the most obvious veto, then I also think there's a world where you lose. And if he lost, by the way, a lot of these people wouldn't say he's player of the year, or they would say like, oh, he's the reason they lost, or they'd come up with some angle. So I also think in a weird way, as much as the year was messy, at the end, actually, the narratives kind of worked out. I even think, by the way, because I've got a take coming up. In fact, you know what? I'll transition this to my take. Because my take is about vitality. I even think the reason why Zewu isn't on any... And no vitality players made that list is exactly for the reason of my next hot take. So my hot take is this. I'll just say the old preface I've said many times before. I'm not joking. I have actually been a fan of Counter-Strike and been around the scene and played the game since the very beginning of Beta 1 in CS 1.6. You know when you had a 1 ID instead of a Steam ID? I had a 4-digit 1 ID and mine began with a 1. So I was on the first 1,000, well, 2,000, it was over 1,000 obviously. So I had like 1 AK chaps, for example. So I actually did follow the whole game, and I always say this, I never claim I watched every match. Spoiler, I wouldn't even now go back and watch a fucking group stage game from WCG 2003 3 between a Macedonian team and a Chinese team, would I like? But I always say I watched all the big matches in all the big tournaments ever, and so I got to see every team and every player. And I have to tell you, one thing I have hated this year about the fact that Vitality didn't win except one time in Cologne is the way people have talked like it was ZywOo 1v9, all of Na'Vi sucks, and they're just not good at anything. I don't get it, because here's my hot take. I've seen a lot of Counter-Strike, and I think this Vitality lineup is one of the most underwhelming lineups of all time, only in terms of the trophy cabinet. If you actually look at like the makeup of the team, imagine if we're making like, a FIFA or an NBA game, and we have to rank, the ratings of the players, and then the team rating, like firepower, offensive ability, right? If I was to run you down, kassad, like what we were saying about making a Falcons team, if I was to make this team for you today, it's fucking insane. You'd go, we can win everything. Think about this, right? Star player, I'm going to give you ZywOo. Not only is he going to almost certainly be a Player of the Year candidate, and by the way, at every single tournament he goes to, he can or is an MVP candidate. And I just said it. I did it as a shitty joke on Twitter, but I believe it. You know what? If there only were group stages, this guy would be the GOAT of CS. He is so insane when group stage games. It is bonkers. I can guarantee he's going to top that scoreboard every time. He's that insane. So as a star player, by the way, then add in, now he plays Mega with the rifle, and he was already a pistol god. Unironically, this guy actually is like one of the best stars you could ever start your team with. Then if I add in the players, I've always even thought the genius of Spinks and Flames is because they're not actually anywhere close to ZywOo, that's why they're streamlined, and then their style of players are the opposite. So they fit around him in the team. Spinks is the slightly more passive lurker, and by the way, they definitely sped his arse up this year. And then Flames is the like super aggro, just go in first and shoot 2 people in the head really quickly, streaky rifler. And then you've got like Mezzy just does everything you ask of him, can do any role in the team, self-sacrifice. And then Apex is like I just call like the hero players. I want to be like French Carrigan style IGL. If you go look, right, the lineup's mega. They have totally enough firepower and fragging. Absolutely. You go look at their fucking map pool, by the way. The map pool is the crazy. This is why I know you guys, not you, I mean like plebs. I know plebs don't look at the veto because I'm not joking. Vitality, the whole year, has had the best veto in Counter-Strike. I'm telling you. Because one of the things they did that shows how cracked their lineup is, they pivoted through the whole map pool if you go through the whole season. If you start at the beginning of the year, that was when like they could play the Vertigo and stuff like that if they needed to. Then they kept pivoting through. Eventually, by the way, when Na'Vi was supposed to be the Kings of Mirage, they became the best Mirage team. By the way, by the end of the year, they were gods on fucking a nuke. Like they went everywhere. When Dust 2 came out, they immediately embraced that. Their nuke, by the way, is insane. It's actually fucking bonkers they could even lose that to bloody FaZe, by the way. They should never lose to anyone on nuke. If you go through the map pool, I'm not joking, they basically have a veto where they could actually fix it up. And I almost never saw them ever play a team before a series began, and I looked at the veto and I was like, it's like, I even told you this can happen to Na'Vi. Na'Vi can have the wrong team. Team Liquid, believe it or not, actually matched up veto-wise very well into Na'Vi. Nobody matched up versus Vitality in the veto. Nobody could ever get a clear edge in the veto. So if you add all these things together, and at the end you tell me I won one prestige event, it wasn't even the major, and then even worse, I was in a billion semi-finals. And by the way, if you went back, I'll guarantee most of those semi-finals, they were like the favourite to win the match, and they didn't. So I'm actually not doing, that's why I did the big build-up, I'm not doing what the ZywOo fan does and saying Vitality shit. I actually think the pieces should have been incredible. This should have been like a historic season where they should, by the way, they should have been the team of the year. They should have won 2 or 3 of the prestige events. They could have been in the finals of almost every event and won every event. And ZywOo, by the way, could have been the MVP of every, like, the potential for this team was so crazy. And then at the end of the year, you look at it. This is why I get why there are all those rumours, which I've heard are real, about all the discord within the team and people want to leave, or this guy has to get kicked, or because that's what happens when you're in a fucking team where it's meant to win and you don't. I think it's insane how underwhelming this squad is. Like it was like this close, but it's this is where your rule finally applies, kassad. Being close, like as a team, to be team of the year doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck if you were second in top 4? Top 4 when you should have won. That's bad. That's a bad result.
Yeah, that's what
do you guys think?
Remembers that.
There's my hot take. I'm talking about historically too. I think this team could have been one for the ages.
Yeah. Listen, I think that you are kind of right, but also let's examine the Vitality lineup though. You have ZywOo, right, who is a generational player once in fucking how many years, right? That it will, just pop up and do everything right, like you said, pistol, rifle, AWP, clutch, good teammate, whatever, everything, right? And then he adapted to CS2 pretty much. He had no oscillations at all, like it was just straight up from one game to another. Now that is the problem for me. when you say Spinks, when you say Flames, we are thinking about the CS:GO Flames and CS:GO Spinks. Are we not? Because look at the beginning of the end of Spinks, right? Before he went to Vitality, he was a god in ends on that fucking role. Unbelievable, fucking unstoppable. Like one of the biggest reasons they were like so good that they rose up as a team, and then you know their history. But after that, but the thing is like when he transitioned into CS2, is that the same player? I don't think he is. But we're looking at him with the same eyes, and we
I
expect
think he's still good personally. I think he's still very good.
No, he's good, but is he that good? That's the thing.
Put it this way, you know when you do that game you did earlier, where you go like star for star, second for second, right? Let's say like we do that game, right? Aside from m0NESY and G2, who has NiKo as their second star, which second star is better than Spinks and all the other teams?
Second star, then Spinks.
Yeah, you pick one. Which team has a better second star, except for G2?
Does it have to be the same role, or
no, just the second star player.
It's basically just NiKo for G.
Is that it? Isn't?
Oh, wait. That's
yeah,
like the only
isn't it just NiKo?
Second star.
Is it just NiKo?
I think it's just NiKo.
I mean, maybe Frozen, maybe Shiro.
I mean, I think Spinks is better than Frozen. And here's the other thing. Then, when you do the second thing you did there, go to the third. Again, Flames is a pretty good third player, mate. That could be a second player in another team.
That's my point was the same one for Spinks as well. CS:GO Flames is mentally fucking crazy good, right? CS2 Flames, is he the same player? Oh, maybe he is. Like, maybe I'm wrong, right? I'm not saying I'm 100% right because I don't know.
Flames is better in CS2. Spinks is worse in CS2.
I'll give you that.
They've kind of.
I think it's only by a little bit as well. I think you'll make it sound massive.
You have Apex, right? You have Apex as the IGL. I don't have problem with his IGLing. The style is fine.
No, I think he's good. Yeah,
I think he's good.
The problem is that the position that he's taking. I think he's taking a little bit more than he needs to.
Yeah.
In terms of resources and the positions, like a little bit more. I understand he's the captain. They're allowing him to do that. He's like the veteran, whatever. But maybe step back a little bit and take less and give Spinks more or Flames more. Right? It's just a thing. And then mezii, right, is the fifth player who has been bouncing roles for the past 4 years.
Yep.
And we expect him to do great things, like whatever the fuck. It cannot be like he needs to be consistent.
By the way, there's another one, kassad. I'll play the same game with you. So you've picked him as your fifth player. Name a fifth player better than mezii.
Oh, I didn't pick him as a fifth player.
Fourth then, whatever. You can. By the way,
he could be fourth.
I think mezii's underrated in his role because of the team. Look at when he fills out the squad. He's fucking.
Let's say he's fourth. Fourth. Hunter is a better fourth player.
Shut the fuck up.
Aye, come on, man.
Because you're doing that thing where you're not talking about in G2. In G2, Hunter is
But Rain or Brock is a better fourth player. Anybody in Maus that you put on four is better than him.
You know what? I might give you the Rain one. That might be possible because, big stage angle of that. Hunter, fuck right off, mate. Hunter, the joke with Hunter is like, I've done this joke too many times, so I won't do it on a desk again. It's that one of like, he wasn't even playing CS. He just had the VIP experience in G2 where he had a VR headset. He was like, it's like I'm in the team, all shit. I'm following NiKo. And you're supposed to be fucking shooting people, dickhead. Like, that's why I did that joke. You'll appreciate it because you're a football fan, kassad. You know where it said in that interview that Hunter said, my goal is to help NiKo win a major. So I put Hunter this year and I put Darwin Nunez because if you don't know Maui, he's a striker for the team I like, and he's famous for being probably the worst at scoring when like the goal is like blatantly obvious you should score it. So the joke is it's like this guy could fucking miss like an open goal and Hunter could this year, mate.
I don't think so. I think like how many times has Hunter like delivered on a stage?
Barely fucking ever. Do you know what's mad, kassad? You've done exactly what you just said earlier. Actually, do you want to know who had a way bigger drop off? Hunter from fucking CS:GO to CS2 more than Spinks, mate. What are you talking about?
I think they're pretty much the same.
Hunter was a Player of the Year candidate on that fucking esports awards last year. He wouldn't even be G2 Player of the Year candidate, bro. That's a straight
No. Listen. You are going crazy now. Well, I'm saying he did drop off, but I think him and Spinks are pretty much the same in terms of dropping off. The bottom line is what I'm trying to explain.
All right, you have Hunter, I'll take Spinks. We'll keep making teams like this. You can have NiKo, I'll have donk. Keep going. I'll keep making these trades all day long, mate. At the end of the day, I'll have my team. You'll have yours. Donk.
The thing is, like, it's right that you're riding the wave now. Would you take donk at the beginning of the year? No. But the thing is, like, or whatever, like, where were we? We were talking about Vitality.
Yeah,
yes.
And the fact that they're underwhelming. Like, I think they could have been one of the all-time great teams, for real.
Listen, like I said, the thing is, like, we named all 5 players right now. And also, there is a matter of the coach. You said the Vito, the map pool is great, but is the Vito great or the map pool? What did you say?
I think the map pool is very good. I agree that I think the coach might be one of the weaker areas.
The veto is not.
I think also, it's possible the coach is dodgy.
You have to take into account that Apex tweets something like, it's hard to win a major when you don't have a real team, when you're not a real team. What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean that like things are not working out? Like, is that the reason why Flames or Spinks are maybe different in CS2 than in CSGO? Is that the reason why I'm getting that picture? Maybe.
Unfortunately, that's not going to come out for a while, I can tell you. I do know something, but that's going to take a while before.
It doesn't fucking matter. The bottom line is what we see from the outside.
Sure.
Like, if you're watching CS, you see that.
Yeah.
You see that Spinks is different. You see that Flames is different. And we think like, yeah, it's the game. What else can I think? Like, can I fucking read their minds and say, oh, these guys are fucking fighting on practice and Flames is always late? How the fuck do I know that? I don't know that. So I'm saying
what I don't get isn't he just like making my point for me, Maui? That the team on paper should be that good, but then they have all these issues. I think he's just making my point.
Yeah, let me. I don't know.
Didn't say I disagree with you. What do you mean?
So I went over during the player break. During the player break in around June, I made my top 20 of the year, and the team that had the least success to the amount of players that were in the top 20 was Vitality.
Right.
That obviously changed. Like, they had 3 players that you would have considered top 20 players in Zywoo, Flames, and Spinks. As of the player break, they had nobody that was at, or they had no trophies, period. Not even prestige trophies, just trophies. By the end of the year, they end with just the Cologne trophy. Obviously, probably the third. To me, it's the third most important tournament of the year behind both majors. But to have only that to look back on, it leads to them being a pretty underwhelming team overall. I don't like. It's kind of awkward. Like, you know, it's weird because
here's the question, Maui. To make it specifically how I did it, am I then overrating them by saying they could have been an all-time? Because I'm saying, by the way, they could have done. Look, they're not like Astralis 2018, but they could have been like a defining team. Essentially, this should have been their years, not Na'Vi, if they played the way they could have. I thought. Like, I always thought the final of Cologne showed it. In my opinion, when this team hit peak form, no one could beat them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think with Vitality, like to take off the whole like hot take mask right now and just actually some real analysis about this team. I feel like when I watch them play, there's always this one time per tournament, or it's usually in the playoffs, say like quarterfinals, semifinals, where it just doesn't look like anybody's talking to each other with the exception of Apex. Like, I feel like that's also, I mean, that is what they've talked about in interviews also, especially losers interviews, where it's just that people don't begin to talk or whatever. And I think that, like, this is why I kind of think that Spinks is maybe in a team setting overrated, because as an individual he's fire, but as an actual teammate I think he's pretty bad, because let's just say that might be the vibe that's echoing out into the scene. But no one's going to say it yet. No one's going to say it yet. That's my take on it right now, because it feels like he's the quickest to point the finger at his teammates who aren't doing what they should, but it doesn't also feel like he's not a secondary leader by any means. He's a first up backstabber, tertiary leader at best.
Okay.
So
that was good. Yeah. That was good. Write that one down. That one can work.
Fuck him and something like that.
That line can work again. You can reuse that one. He's the first place backstabber, but third place, whatever.
Tertiary leader.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
Tertiary leader. Yeah,
I like it.
I think the thing is though, also Mezzi should be. I thought Mezzi was going to be a better voice on this team, because he was the whole IGL for Fnatic, and then but I think that when he joined the team, that voice kind of got ripped away from him.
He's not that guy, man. He's not the vocal guy.
That's what I mean. He's not. He was forced into the IGL role, and tactically, I think he was good at it, but he just doesn't really live as a captain. Like, he's not a secondary captain. He's not like
the captain. He's not the general. He's a good soldier. He is a fucking guy who is gonna be good on the battlefield, and then he's gonna listen to the orders and like all these things.
Exactly. So, he's a soldier, and that's why Stewie 2K remains underrated. Okay, I'll sign off on that.
Fuck off.
Completely underrated. Completely underrated.
You said you had the spiciest one right now.
Okay.
I go for
it. Do you have a take, Kassad? You have a?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. I was gonna say, like, despite the FaZe's success and this run they had, they should fully rebuild and
so we're not even just taking one or two, but with
three at least.
Ooh! Mate, that is a hot take, okay. Bro, everyone else right now is like, can we even take one person out? You're just going to rip 3 people out. You're going to go, thanks, but no thanks. Get the fuck out the door.
I mean, yes, should we say that, like, they showed, like, fucking good playoff run? Yeah, but what happened, like, the whole year? Like,
oh no, by the way, I'm with you. Even look, I'm the biggest FaZe fan of all time. Even I didn't believe in them because they were walking on water in that fucking playoff skies. Like, by the way, in a fucked up way, it's almost good they didn't win because I think it would have set a bullshit precedent that you can just do nothing for the whole season and then just turn up and win the major.
Win the fucking
you know what I mean? I think that would actually be really bad for CS in a fucked up way.
Change Rain. Change Karrigan.
Oh, changing Karrigan too. Oh,
we have to. And then
tell you what, now I know why kassad. You know what? You are actually a man of principle, kassad, because I know why you turned down to work as the coach of G2, because that's the only team you couldn't objectively, ruthlessly cut everyone from. You'd still be going, oh, Hunter, good old Hunter. Damn it!
You know, there is.
Whereas, were you walking in a FaZe like, right, gentlemen? I've just joined FaZe Clan. I respect you all.
Of the truth there.
The following people. I'm just going to read out the following list. We've got Frozen and Rops. The rest of you can leave. Pack your lockers. Get the fuck out. What the fuck? Like,
no, the thing
is,
like
me as well. Yeah, get out. Bring it.
Shui,
come on in.
There is a fraction of truth there. The thing is, like, for example, for G2, if I was there with Hooksy, would be out insta first day. There wouldn't be like a fucking conversation. There wouldn't be like any kind of negotiation. It would be he would be out first.
Maui, it's the way he says that. Like, it's so reasonable. He wouldn't even give him a chance. He wouldn't even have a conversation. He would just walk into the facility like, hey, kassad, hey, you're fired. But what? Get the fuck out. Like, no question. In fact, guards, you're like some fucking king in the ancient time. Guards, remove this man. Remove him from my court. Okay. You just fire him instantly. Okay. Who are we bringing in, by the way? Do you have someone in mind to bring in for this?
For FaZe?
Yeah.
FaZe? Shui, maybe?
Okay.
Shui would be a good option. Alexi would be a good option too.
Don't know if he's available, but okay.
Why? Is he unavailable?
I mean,
how the fuck would you know that?
Because I feel like you have to be loyal to fucking Na'Vi after they picked you up out of the gutter and then gave you Blade and then you won a major.
We've seen worse things happen.
True.
But probably Shui. Probably Shui would be the number one option. Maybe even, I don't know. I don't want to say other names because people might think I'm extra crazy. But Shui would be number one priority for me together.
Oh
because
my God. What? Ah, fucking hell. Maui,
this is why. This
for
is
fun,
why I didn't want to say
for fun, try and guess. Do you think he was actually going to say something meant like Hampus or fucking Hunters and IGL or something? What was it going to be? What
next?
What was it next? What was it?
Listen, no. I was thinking, not thinking, but it's like one of the people on the list. You know, I have like a list of candidates. kyousuke from Heroic, right?
Karrigan has to leave this squad so kyousuke can come in.
Why? Listen, we are changing the philosophy, Duncan.
Okay.
We're like the not winning philosophy, like the philosophy that has been outdated a little bit.
Right.
I'm not saying it's kyousuke, it's just a list. And then you cross people off.
Okay.
And on top of the list is obviously Shui, right? The guy has played the major finals. He has created this, like, together with the coach, this fucking, Maus lineup. And I would probably also pick a coach from Maus as well to get there with him.
Cyclone, yeah.
That would be a initial idea for me, right? And then, like I said, Brokey and Raid. Brokey for multiple people, I guess. If you want to go really crazy,
just really star up as simple.
Yeah, there's a lot of simple. There is some pious. If you want to go a little bit more less flashy or less, media fucking whatever. Somebody who can, or you can go somebody like like Liquid Head in Ultimate. Not that guy, but like similar to that way they did with Brokey. But you don't have to go. There is a lot of offers out there that you can pick. Icy, Wonderful from fucking Navi as well. Like there is, there are offers right there. Monacy, you never know. So those are number two, and the third option for Rain, that is the big one. That is that I'm not really sure who would fit into that role. Maybe a Leash. That's the thing. I would try to get Elige into that lineup, right? Because the Elige is still young. What, he's 26, right? Right now? 25, 26?
I will tell people, I'm not a big stats guy, but if you ever go and look at the stats on Elige, when you then consider every player you'd be comparing him to has a way better set of teammates, it is unreal his stats this year, mate. They are actually bonkers.
Unbelievable.
They're impossible. When you
the guy's up there.
Yeah,
the team is just dog shit.
Yeah.
But I would, if I was FaZe, I would probably try to get him because he obviously wants to get out.
Yeah. No, he does. By the way, as far as I know, he would join. I believe he would join if he got the offer.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't? Like, everybody would join. The thing is, like, even the tweet he put out, like saying, like, listen, this is my new agent. Whoever wants to contact him.
You notice he's a European agent as well, by the way, guys. That's like a big fucking It's like a Belgian guy.
Like, contact him. I want to get out. Like,
exactly. Yes.
Such an obvious tweet.
Like, it was well done. It was all
done. Get him to FaZe if you can, before he goes to Falcons or something like that, right?
Yes.
The thing is, like,
and then what we'll do is, just to be fair, in 2 years, NAF's allowed to join FaZe also, and eventually everyone from Team Liquid gets to win a major, but only by joining FaZe after multiple years later. So that's the new meta. That's how we do it, boys. We're not winning them in NA, obviously.
Yes, I mean just once, but yeah. The thing is definitely FaZe needs to rebuild, despite the success in Shanghai, which we can call a success.
By the way, I think that because of the major, I think that is a pretty big hot take. What do you think, Maui? What do you think of this? It's a pretty big hot take.
3 people.
Yeah, and Karrigan especially. No one else is replacing Karrigan, I don't think, so that's a big one, I think, mate. That's big.
I mean, I can't believe I have a take that they should replace magixx with kyousuke, but then I'm actually going to turn this one down. I think FaZe showed me at this year multiple times now that they really do just care about the prestige events, and they'll just be at those and go deep in them. And it does feel like, how are they just sandbagging every other event, but then they continue to do this? Also, a reminder is that in terms of playoffs, wait a second, they missed a couple this year. But they really didn't miss that many. It's just that they floundered once they got.
They usually just lost immediately. Yeah.
Well, you think I can tell you this as well. If you're FaZe, right, you look like this, like, 36-year-old tennis players, right? Rafa, Djokovic, Federer, who are only playing for these majors, like, you know,
that's true.
Wimbledon,
if people don't know, at the end of their careers, like, for example, Djokovic in the middle of his career was the best ever at the ATP 1000, which is the equivalent of a normal S-tier event. But at the end now, you can tell he only gives a fuck about everything's about just win that Grand Slam.
Yeah.
He would give up every other. He won't even attend half of them if he needs to. You know.
Yeah. The problem is, this is not tennis, and this is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. You have players like Frozen. Sure. You have players like Robs. Even Brokey is young-ish, right? And then they don't want to be only involved in runs on majors. Sure. They want to be involved in titles on IEMs and all these events, right? So that really cannot be the case for FaZe. They cannot become that team, like, you know, like those tennis players. So they need to find a way how to be a competitor for the titles in the 2025, right? Rather than a team that's gonna maybe play well on the major.
Okay.
Anything
else, Maui?
Well, I have another take.
No, I have a response to that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Like, my response to that is,
respond to it.
I do think that's too much of a hot take. Right? Here's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm halfway, as usual, I'm halfway between, which is, I don't think actually, no matter what anyone says, right? First of all, here's why the take, I'm sorry, is whack of, like, don't change FaZe. They didn't win the major. So what you're telling me is, when everything seemingly went right, by the way, even Brokey, who'd been in like a month, for like a 2-month fucking slump, came alive in the playoffs. Rops, by the way, had like a fucking semi-finals that was like as good as anything from his peak year last year as well, but they like completely rolled the years back. Karrigan, it's like, I can't remember who it was who made this comment. Maybe it was like Freiberg or something. Have you ever noticed how the second Karrigan had like real fraggers? Suddenly all the mid-rounds just working a genius again. Like, he was never a shit caller, guys. People just really were not killing people. He would make the call, the people would just lose the duel. And then you go down the line, Rain had like a few maps where, again, it was like unbelievable, some of the fucking ballsy duels he wins and moves he makes on the map, etc. It was ridiculous how all these people came alive. But the problem is, it took all of that and then they didn't win the major. So my problem is, when I look back, if you reboot that bracket and they start again against Vitality, I will bet on Vitality to win. If they make it past Vitality, I will then bet on them to win, on G2 to win. And if they make the final, knowing what I know now, I would bet on Spirit to win the final. I wouldn't even do I only did the one for FaZe because I thought maybe Spirit could choke in the final, or maybe the V2 will be crazy. I never did actually believe like FaZe is the favourite in that sense. So my problem is, you didn't, and that was your only event of the season where it ever all came together. If you ever have a look at the other ones, they completely floundered in the Cologne one where we thought they'd do this kind of run. Actually, they fucked it up to shitty Saw. I mean, fucking hell. So my problem is this. I won't make a big thing because I know people don't give a fuck about League of Legends, but this basically just happened in League of Legends, where the team that won, this T1 team, was never actually the best any other moment before that, pretty much. Like, they would always have some other Korean team was better, or they'd lose in the like normal size tournament. But what happened at the World Championship is, did Did they play a bit better? Yes, like FaZe they did. But I also think what happened is you saw that some cores do just have incredible ability in the biggest pressure games. And that is the number one factor for FaZe. It isn't just Rops fragging out. It's stuff like everyone else looked like they played way more nervous against them. Like Vitality looked way worse. By the way, Nico had a terrible last map against them. Malbs had moments when he wasn't doing that awesome. Like everyone else level went down, and it's not that FaZe went above what it was before. They just went up a bit, and then everyone else went down enough, and they met in the middle, as it were. And it was, by the way, it was still really close. It was still really close to get all these matches won. So my problem is everyone else is doing the thing of like keep all 5. Definitely don't keep all 5. But my problem then becomes like I'll do one move. Doing 2s where I start to say who's the other player though. Now I need to know the player coming in. It can't just be I'm kicking. Like I wouldn't walk in like you first day 1, go you're both fired, and then figure out who I'm getting. I'd have to know who the 2 are. Because my issue is this. I'm sorry, the biggest issue, and this is I feel so bad saying this because it's just how unfair timing is. If you think of how the whole year went. Until about something like 2.5 months ago, Brokey's one of the players that would be safe. He was their player of the year. He was the guy that did his job, and it was actually fuckers like Rops that were doing nothing. But because Brokey plays up, sadly, that's why I would kick him at this point. I'm sorry, he just isn't as good as the superstar up, as the Monesies, the Z-Woos. Also, like we're saying, if you really can get in, like if it's Simple, by the way, I'm sorry, I would do that move immediately. Give Simple the Carrigan and put him in FaZe. It'll be better than Brokey's. And by the way, I'd even go the debatable one of some Pius. I feel like if you put some Pius in the right environment, he's also a big game player too, by the way. The obvious problem for me is the second cut is the one that felt obvious for most of the year, which was Rain. The problem is this. Again, it depends what the team setup is and where all the resources are going. Because I'll tell you what, if you do it like, if you're really fair to Rain, you can't just say compare him to like an aggressive rifler. Like I've said all year, I would put Exertion in his spot. The difference is Exertion does need resources and calls made for him. Rain is doing the opposite. He is taking no resources and providing space and resources for other people. So the problem with that is when I saw how Rain played, and the difference is I do think Rain's performance is replicable. He didn't go way above what he normally, he just did those baller games he does him for. So maybe I would do 2 cuts. I think 3 is slightly too far, especially because you're doing Carrigan at the end, bro. And that's the issue.
You would lose the Valve ranking points.
I also feel like, I'm just going to say this. Here's the difference. I do think you can change twists out and put Frozen in. It can still have some of the essence. I think you change Brokey for Simple. It could still have some of the, if you take Carrigan out, it's not FaZe Clan anymore, mate. Now it's just Superstar Mouse.
Yeah, it's a new FaZe Clan. Absolutely. It's not the old FaZe. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah, but that's the problem. I feel like most people like me also want it to still be FaZe, but have a chance to do what they did at this major and win. That's what we're all addicted to, is those sick calls and plays.
You want to replace Rain, somebody who creates space and doesn't.
I don't want to. I just have to.
But you have to, right? Nurse is out there. He's out there. You think he's happy in Heroic? I don't think so. He would join that FaZe team. He doesn't need resources. He's good at holding W and shooting people in the head. There he is, right there. So there are options rather than just dragging this like dead horse for another year.
Sure.
With the org, just crazy. Anyway, that's it for me.
Right, here's the thing though, guys. You know, earlier I said Vitality had that amazing lineup, but in the end they got caught with their pants down. Well, if they had watched this show and used our sponsor, MeUndies, www.meundies.com/hottake, when they got caught with their pants down, because Americans call trousers pants, whereas in England we actually call underwear pants, you would see their pants, and if they'd have been wearing MeUndies, they'd look stylish, and they'd have that micro-modal fibre, wouldn't they? So if you don't know, MeUndies isn't just underwear, like the name might initially imply. They actually have all sorts of stuff, all sorts of apparel. They have lounge pants, hoodies, sweats, onesies, and obviously they have all different styles. They have like 20 different styles in hundreds of different colours and prints, including a holiday collection, so check that out, obviously for Christmas, etc. Versatile, like I said, it goes joggers, hoodies, more than that. There's plenty on the website. There's loads and loads of stuff listed there with all different collections, etc. They say they have unmatched comfort because of their super soft micro-modal fabric, which is breathable, it's stretchy, it's comfortable. You can use it all day long. It's responsibly sourced, if that's one of the things that you were bothered about. And they have a thing where if you don't like your first pair of undies, it's on them. They'll just basically give you the money back. So knock out all your holiday gift giving needs today with MeUndies. To get an exclusive holiday deals and savings all month long, go to meundies.com/hottake. It's on the screen. HOTTAKE. Enter promo code HOTTAKE, all one word. That's meundies.com/hottake. Code HOTTAKE. MeUndies, comfort from the inside out. Unlike Vitality. Allegedly. Right. Do we have like one last take? to round it off? Go on. Is this the hot take, Maui? Hit us with it.
I feel like Maui is like keeping this
one
for the end.
He's saving his power level.
Yeah, you gotta know who's coming.
So sketchy for the last 40 minutes. Like, I don't know.
You know I had to do it to him. You know, I've already made my points incredibly clear on Twitter regarding this one, but the worst in-game leader of the playoffs was Snax. I don't even know who I'm even fighting on this one because I don't know what you guys have in terms of takes on this one, but if I look at all of the playoff in-game leaders, I look at Blitz. I think Blitz has been better throughout this year by far. I think kyousuke would be a debatable one, but what he did with Heroic and how they've caught up to speed, I'd take kyousuke. And I almost feel like if you're going to say kyousuke for Kerrigan, you probably would have to agree on that one at this point, Kassad. Kerrigan himself making to that grand final. The way Chopper was pretty sketchy, in all honesty, at certain points of the year, but nothing similar to what I saw from Snax throughout much of the calling here. Who else have we got? We got Apex, of course, for Vitality. I'm gonna be taking Apex pretty easily in that one. And I feel like the only one that I think is debatable, because I wouldn't take Shuhei's not a question for me at all, is probably Twist. Is probably Twist. Like, Twist is the only guy of the 8 that I would say would be in the lowest tier along with Snax. But the thing is that when it comes to Twist and how the team has been improving, they've been improving quite quickly. Like, the way that they've actually scaled up their map pool this fast has been downright impressive. Like, Anubis, Ancient, and Inferno for them are actually pretty legitimate on their T side at this point. And it's not just because he has good players. Like, the calls are actually good. The way he layers the rounds are good. They're more imaginative in terms of the finishers, the late rounds, and it's actually catching teams off guard. I will say, like, Twist needs to figure out his dust too, but when it comes to Snax, it's like he's playing this super basic IGL style that works all the way until he hits the brick wall, which is a team with a similar amount of skill, sometimes even less skill than G2. And for me with Twist, sometimes they'll beat teams that are probably even maybe like a little bit better than them, or at least take a good fight to them. That's something that I consider pretty strongly here. Whereas G2 can lose to teams worse than them. But like for Liquid throughout this major, you know, they beat every team that I would consider to be worse than them. MIBR, Furia, Gamer Legion, FlyQuest, Wildcard, and Cloud9. They beat all of those teams, but then it's always the big dogs like Spirit and Navi. Those are their only 2 losses in the entire major proper. So when it comes to G2, though, on the other hand, you know, you can still lose to like Mongols. You can lose to FaZe Clan. Like, they lose to teams that are otherwise they shouldn't be losing to, despite the fact that they have the better overall players. So yeah, I'd just say pretty easily that Snax is the worst IGL that made it into the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know if this thing is true or not, but the thing is, like, me and Maui kind of agree on the take. It's fucking once in a lifetime kind of thing, yeah? And I do agree to the point, like, even beyond playoffs. Like, he's barely making out of the bottom. When you look at the top 16 teams, like, you have, like, Wildcard and, you know, Gamer Legion and, I don't even know, MIBR and, like, all those IGLs there. Can you say that he's better than, you know, than them, right? You have Wildcard, it's Stan, right?
I rate Stan as I'd actually rate him so high right now.
You know, and then you have this ZTR kid who had to, like, qualify through fucking so much pain as being an IGL, having no player, having to, you know, get the Towson or whatever the fucking his name is, and like qualify through the RMR and the open qualifiers and the closed qualifiers and all this shit. And then you have obviously the Brazilians with Pain and MIBR and then Thompson, and, you know, is he even baking out of the bottom of this top 16 as an IGL, considering the players that you have, right? Nico, Honesty, Hunter, and unbelievably good Malbs, who actually got them to that semifinal. Let's not forget that. That has nothing to do with Snax. That has to do with individuals right there. So I do agree with you that he is probably by far even the worst in the playoffs. I don't think there is a single IGL, including Twists, even though I kind of agree with you on that one, that he is kind of closest to him when it comes to the bottom 8. But still, Twist did a better job overall, considering everything else. And for me, Snax felt like this season, he felt like somebody who was there because they didn't have anybody else to kind of hire. You know, it was just, oh, okay, who can we get here? All right, you sit there and do something. And that's it. You know, that's how it felt to me from outside. Let's do this season, pretend like it's a fucking last dance, whatever the fuck, and then we'll figure it out later. And then see you later. I don't think he will survive the end of this year, to be honest.
Put it this way, I would literally reframe this take as, it's just clear that Snax is the most overrated in-game leader in all of Counter-Strike. Because what's bizarre is, plebs, every time they win those blasts, really do think he's doing hot shit. Look, I won't say who. My trick with people who actually like in the communities, I'll call you takeout if you're not a dickhead. So certain casters, you'll be able to look up who was casting the game, and if they're watching, hello, you know you were casting the game. You know when you do that thing where, because you know everyone's hating on Snax, by the way, they're hating on him having the most cracked out lineup of players and just getting to win while sitting there going, huh, am I doing it? We'll never know, as they just shoot people in the head. You're then acting like he's being bullied by, like, being said, maybe he's not as good because, by the way, all they win is blasts. I don't know why that's bullying, by the way. That's called you got one of the best jobs in the world and you're not good enough at it. Like, you should be bullied / fired / pushed out. But what they do is this. You might have seen it in the playoffs. They did this, right, on that last map. They were going, but look at his numbers. Look at his fragging. Yeah, do you know why that would have been amazing? You know the idea of, like, dropping, like, 20 kills or something? It would be insane for that type of IGL because he's not doing that type of IGLing. He isn't playing like Huxley or Carrigan, super selfless. First of all, he is definitely sometimes taking spots and positions in, like, the pacing of the round where he's just going for, like, a kill, like the trade kill, and just getting it. Or even worse, by the way, he absolutely gets, like, exits or gets, like, the easiest 1v1s I've ever fucking seen in my life because you've just gone through Monacy, fucking Nico, the bulbs, and then you get a 1v1 where he knows all the info, he's got the bomb down or something, and all he has to do for real is, like, he's not even, like, headshotting them, he just do, like, a peek into them and shoot a, like, you know, fucking shush or something. Like, it's not like he's doing the craziest play ever, and everyone overreacts to these 1vx's so ridiculous, as if it makes up for everything. But my biggest problem is this. I'll run through the list. First of all, as an in-game leader, I just don't buy, like I said, I think he was too selfish. Like, I actually think this team would literally have won more. I've said it before, Kassad disagrees, but I actually even think Huxley would have won more because he would have just played all the bit trolls and let everyone else flag out in that sense. So I actually think he took a little bit from the team in that sense. Then there's the whole angle. Look, this is one of the reasons why it's not as simple as, like, oh, Nico could have been IGL after Dallas, but he chose not to. If you look at even the interviews, it's implied he just makes mid-round calls whenever he feels like it. So I'm sorry, when I have a game like that Mirage game against fucking Vitality at Blast Fall or whatever it was in the semis, where, like, Nico takes over the game, Snax isn't piloting him, telling him, right, now go, mate, but pull back. Nico just chose to make that push. Now, with that said, and notice how different that was. I said in a Mirage game where you're on the extremities, you make a mid-round. Did you see the last map that this team has played together? That nuke game against FaZe? Their fucking T-side was like a shit version of the meme, Nico go kill. It was, we all stand here. I'm Snax. I'm fucking playing nuke, by the way. One of the most tactical maps ever. We all just stand there. Hey, Nico, you know those smokes? You just run through that like you're in the fucking mist or something, bro, and just hope you find a player and shoot him in his head. Like that. And before you go, why doesn't Nico make the mid-round? There's no mid-round to take on outside when I'm in smokes. Like, there's nothing to mid-round, you idiot. Like, I'm just trying to find a duel. And that was actually a nightmare. Like, watching Nico just be fed into the blender over and over again was a joke. And the worst part about this major is obviously they could potentially have gotten to a third map and won that match. I think for real, they had no business even being in that semi-final. They would have gotten busted on the other nuke game against Heroic, 2-zip, because when Heroic switched to T-side, bro, that T-side normally would have just won that game against most teams. Nico and Monacy just went demon mode. They couldn't be beaten. There's no call from Snax. It's just Nico killing people CT-side nuke, which he's done his whole career. Just positioning around the outside, positioning around the underneath the ladder. He's just beating everyone in duels, the AWPer, the nerds. He's beating everyone, and he just won you that game. Now, tell me what Snax did in that game. People telling me I'm hating on him, I'm underrating him. He did fuck all. He did absolutely fuck all. So there's a world, by the way, where they just get bounced in the fucking round of 8 on this one, and it's heroic against FaZe in the semis, which surely would be insane. And then you even look, by the way, the rare times, and by the way, what saved them there on map 3 was Malbs on map 3 came alive and then just did all those headshots. Again, if you're the guys from Heroic, by the way, you're waking up nightmare fuel of how many times you were like 2v3 or 3v2, and then Malbs just killed 2 people. It actually felt unfair. Like, if I'm Heroic, like, it's like I'm playing chess and suddenly your piece just becomes twice as good. Like, what the fuck? Like, I had you in position, I manoeuvred you, got to where I needed the end game to be, I should close out now, and then you just win the game. Snax didn't tell him to do any of that shit. Nothing to do with him being in Virtus.pro, because by the way, this guy, that's why I put him in that fallen category, and Stewie, he's got the fucking CS royalty tag, mate, where every caster wants to glaze. They want to say he's awesome. They think somehow that if you say he's not good as an IGL now, it's like Taz as a coach, you're somehow now saying he wasn't good as a great player like 10 years ago in Virtus.pro, which to me, it's not connected. It would be, here's the analogy for you, Kassad. Even though this guy was a good manager, it would be like, I did think that when Zidane first became the Real Madrid manager, because he just walked into the best team in the world and they kept winning the Champions League, everyone was going, is he the GOAT? It's like, we can't know. I know that Zidane the player was fucking sick, but we have to wait and see when he's with a bad team, when he has, less pieces. Like, that's when we'll know. You're just trying to connect the two, because obviously the story's cool, isn't it? It's a bit like Neo. Of course, we'd want him to win the major, to go, wow, the GOAT of 1.6, and then there's a coach, he wins the major. But that's just a movie, guys. In real life, you have to assess each person at their job right now with what they have. And I'm sorry, I agree. I actually think Snax was mega underwhelming, mate. Even though people are going to think you're being disrespectful, picking people who've never won a trophy, for example. Like, the joke is, like, blitz, mate, frags and fucking calls. The guy does his work, mate. He knows what he's doing. He can cook. In fact, I'll say this right now, if he spoke English, he could be better than Snax in fucking G2.
I mean, the bar is pretty low on that one as well.
But don't you find it wild how many fans have sort of gone against us just because of those trophy lists? Those trophy lists, they just wipe people's brain like the Men in Black fucking device, mate. It's mad, isn't it? The second you get that trophy, they just think you have to be cracked out.
The biggest proof of this would be like to lose m0NESY, lose Nico, get the players, keep Snax, and see what you can do.
Agreed, yeah.
And I will eat my words, say like, oh yeah, maybe he's good.
That's totally fair.
If he doesn't, then we know we're right. Like,
yes.
That's simple as that.
Like, okay, so one thing that I feel like
he's that fucking good, bring him to Falcons with Nico then.
Yeah, the thing that this community is seemingly so bad at doing is just isolating variables and trying to think through those. Like, let's think of what G2 has done in the past 4 years, okay? They made the grand finals of the major with Nexa as the in-game leader. They made the grand finals of Katowice with Alexi B as the IGL. They made it to
Kato and Cologne.
Well, they won Kato and Cologne with Hooksy as the IGL. And now with Snax, they made it to the semifinals of this major. Like, what is the consistent? What is the consistent factor throughout this?
It's like he said, you can basically just put anyone who has 4 limbs and a fucking brain that's working could just sit in that chair.
It could be the same thing.
Apparently,
yes.
Anyone,
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's like like the consistent factor is Nico and Hunter, and for the last 3 IGLs, it's m0NESY too.
Yeah,
it's that trio.
True.
So that's why I always find it
not a single major as well.
Yeah.
And then you have Spirit in the rookie year, they win a fucking major.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donk's rookie year. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I always find these discussions so odd. But then let's isolate the variables in the other direction. Okay, what was Snax doing before this G2 lineup? He didn't qualify for the major with the same trio that Shuhei took to the grand finals of the previous major. Like, he couldn't qualify until 9 Pandas lost their visas or couldn't get their visas secured with the same core that made it to the grand finals of the last major. Like, I know who the better in-game leader is between Snax and Shuhei now, like pretty obviously. And then I just feel like we have to think about like who's the strongest core then. It's like Nico, Hunter, and m0NESY. Like that, and now that they have Malbs too, it's like that's why I just rate him. It's like the easy thing to do is looking at IGL's results and purely thinking through that.
Yes.
But then on top of that, you should think of what are they doing before and after with varied pieces, and what are they doing with respect to the strength of the lineup that they have, and also use the eye test to actually look at the calls. Like, are the calls even actually good, or is it just fragging in a 2v4 that's going to get him out of a situation?
Yes, and Duncan said it nicely. All these so-called clutches, like, you are all in a favorable spot, like the clutches that you should win more often than you should lose. So you are expected to win most of them.
Yes.
Not to lose, because you have the HP advantage, the positional advantage, the clock is on your side, everything is on your side, you are in a position to win. And everybody is pretending like it's a fucking miracle.
And also, like I said before about fragging, what does that have to do with IGLing? That's fucking nothing to do with that. Like, by the way, I'll say this right now, because people are so... people do that thing with me where I'm never allowed to have a nuanced opinion. So since I didn't like JL being an idiot, that means I have to say he's a bad player, which I never ever did at any point on any of the shows Maui's ever appeared on me with. Well, similarly, people think that like, oh, you think Fallen is bad at everything. I'll tell you what, Fallen's better in clutches than fucking Snax. Fallen's actually pretty good in clutches. My problem is I think he's a shit IGL. I don't think he can use the pieces on his team, like, and he holds Kassad auto back. Like, but yeah, if we're only counting like clutches, yeah, he's fucking dynamite. He's actually probably one of the better IGLs at clutching. But the point is, that's not really like, if I'm making a list of things I need my IGL to, clutching's like 10th on the list. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take all the rest of it, set the players up.
I don't want my IGL to be in the clutch.
I know. And ideally, yeah, they shouldn't even be there, of course. By the way, there's a question for you right there, boys. How does he end up in all these clutches as the fucking IGL?
I know.
Do you know Carrigan ends up in a clutch if he's just on the other side of the map? That's it. You know,
Never.
Or he's on CT and the other 4 CTs died. That's it.
Carrigan is never in a clutch. Never.
Yeah, true.
I barely see them. Like, it's very rare that it happens. But yeah, that's a fair point.